Ask my questions.
Hi, friends. Les Mood with the Energy Independence Group. Today we have Kelly Gladden on the show. She's a local leader in the oil and petroleum industry. She's also very involved in the community. Kelly, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, Les. Well, thank you for having me on your show. I don't know about a leader. I was married to one for sure. Um, I'm really interested in the oil industry because it really affects Kern County greatly. What would you like to know?
Well, I'd like to know some of the information that you're highly aware of, like the statistics, any information about our area that some people might find interesting.
Well, I don't think that people realize how dependent we are upon oil. For example, the United States ranks number one with the highest rates of oil production. And we're in the top 10, of course. We produce about, and it's fluctuating because now we have the COVID-19, we're producing less, there's all kinds of fluctuation, but the last numbers were 12,108,000 barrels per day. And then Russia second, Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Canada, China, the UAE, Kuwait, Brazil, then Iran.
Wow. So can you tell me some of the neat things oil and gas makes other than the cars and the fuel that we drive? What kind of other products are out there that people are using in the oil and gas industry?
Well, it's quite interesting. We pretty much use oil. Oil, about 50% of it goes to actual transportation to gasoline. The rest is byproducts. And the byproducts that we use are everything from in your hair, your closet, you wear it, you eat it. How many people like red velvet cake?
I think everybody does.
It's in it. It's the red dye.
Wow.
Lipstick. Do you wear contacts?
I don't.
So if somebody wears contacts, they're supporting the oil industry. There's quite a few things that we have: deodorant, antiperspirants, perfumes,
So when you're
clothing.
using those products, you're not just supporting the oil industry. The oil industry is supporting you. And so here in Kern County, Kelly, I'm curious what information you might have to share about what's going on with some of the challenges we have in meeting the goals of the state and the governor to clean the air and make this a better community for us all in the state of California. Can you tell us what's going on and what kind of challenges Kern County and the jobs that we have in the market here is having and what's going on there?
I think that we need to pray. We need to pray for guidance. We need to pray for solutions because we are truly dependent upon oil. And by cutting us off, that's not going to solve anything. Agriculture is dependent upon oil, everyday life, transportation. So everyone that wants to put an end to the drilling and have it drilled somewhere else, that's not a solution. Just California is so regulated and we like to have control. We want to see what's going on in our own backyard. So for example, we have all types of environmentalists, safety nets, security, et cetera, to make sure that we're not harming the environment, harming people. We don't have children working on the facilities, et cetera. Well, what the problem is that when you send it away to a foreign entity, we have no control. It's their laws. If they're dumping byproducts into the ocean, we can't stop them. I mean, we can complain with a group of people, but everybody knows how well does Iran listen to us.
And I think you know a lot about oil from your husband. Was your husband referred to as the king of steam or something like that?
Yes. My husband passed away it's going to be 2 years shortly, but he produced more steam than anyone else in the United States and the world. He worked for Occidental Petroleum and they called him the king of steam. And in fact, I got a crown.
Oh my gosh. So this makes
Yeah, a
you a
little,
queen then. You're the queen
yes.
of steam.
So I'm the queen of steam. I rule a kingdom of Kelly land. Too bad nobody listens. we can solve world problems.
Right. So, as I see you as a leader, you're at least a queen of steam. And one of the questions I have is for the leaders in our community. What do you see that's being done on a local level to represent Kern County in the negotiations that are happening between our area and the state and trying to meet the goals of jobs and environment?
Well, not only do we have a lot of big players in the oil industry, CEOs of companies speaking with the government locally as well as state, we have some phenomenal leaders here locally. For example, Leticia Perez, our Madam Chairwoman, the supervisor of Kern County, she has met with the governor and the board quite regularly, trying to get more jobs in Kern County, trying to help, get rid of some of the red tape, for lack of words, so that we can drill.
Yeah. Well, today
We can
earlier
get
I
our
was just,
permits. We're
yeah,
in the
today I was
process of
driving.
lawsuits, and Vince Fong, very proactive, Shannon Grove, Kevin McCarthy, pretty much all the leaders in Kern County are pretty much on the same page, and we've had some unity, which is sort of nice.
Yeah. Speaking of unity and community, we're noticing here in Kern County that the air is a lot cleaner with the cars that are quarantined in the rest of the state. So we have pollution that comes into our valley from outside of the area, and it comes from the cars that are being driven. And those cars are being fueled by energy that comes from partially Kern County, but also overseas. I think you indicated that a lot of, and you would know this, a lot of fuel and oil comes from oil tankers, which has a risk, and there's fuel used to get those oil tankers here. There's also lower environmental standards. I'm curious if you would agree that Kern County and California in general have some of the highest standards in the world for environmental practices with oil and gas.
Absolutely.
This is good to know. And the reason I ask is because I think it's important to point out that if these cars that are being driven across the state are going to be driven regardless of where the oil comes from, I would love to see the state of California come together with Kern County to promote the jobs in the oil and the higher quality standards for oil production here at home, where we can get tax revenue, school revenue, and jobs for our community. So I'd encourage everyone to continue to tune in and turn on the Energy Independence Group show, because we're going to have leaders like Kelly here to talk about some of these solutions that we can do to compromise and to work together with our leaders locally and our leaders across the state to make sure that we keep the jobs and we keep the oil flowing in a way that's responsible. And but one question I have for you, Kelly, is anyone pointed out to the leaders of California that the demand for oil is something that is not related to the production of oil, and that the demand for oil and the use of oil across the rest of the state yields environmental destruction here in terms of the air quality, and we see really clear skies. Have you noticed that the skies are clearer lately?
Yes. I'm not sure exactly what your question was, but
Yeah, are you seeing clear skies in general
oh,
here in Kern County?
absolutely. And to go into that, we have heard a lot of leaders, not necessarily from Kern County, but people that don't live in the state, or people that live in Sacramento, stating that the oil production, the cars are causing all the damage, the smog, etc. But it doesn't seem to be the case. Look how beautiful it is. I think that it's, you know, self-quarantining. I mean, we're not as many people out there doing as many things. Instead of
Yeah.
banning the production of oil, perhaps we should do more ride sharing once the quarantine
Uh,
is over.
Yeah, telecommuting. These are the things we like to talk about lately in these time of crisis. Is the silver lining of what's going on and how it's changing the paradigm in this watershed moment where we see changes happen rapidly. We get to spend more time with our family. We get to have a good time and have more time to think in general. So, what I'd encourage our listeners to do is to continue to tune in and support leaders like Kelly and others to support jobs in our community. She has a lot of experience knowing and seeing the impact in our community that oil and the jobs have had. She also knows that there's a lot involved in the safety and production in this area. I would encourage the state leaders to work with us to try to develop standards that are even better, but in a way that's sustainable and financially feasible, so we can continue to produce oil that the rest of the state and the nation uses. So, Kelly, do you know about how much energy and oil is produced here in Kern County?
You know what? I was looking at records earlier. It we haven't had the last quarter, but we were number one for a while, the state. Then we're now number five, and I know that I believe Kern County produces over 50% of the oil in the state, but it fluctuates. I'm not really sure with the drilling permits because we've had a moratorium on permit pulling.
Right. So you probably know, Kelly, a lot of developers and oil and gas experts who are using steam. And we're seeing a lot of the state regulations and environmental standards nationally affecting steam production on natural gas. And we see opportunity there for the solar industry, energy storage industry, and the oil and gas industry to work together. Do you think
Right.
there's some kind of compromise that can happen in this state where we can continue to use oil, but also do it in a way that eliminates some of the risks for the grid going down with microgrids, as well as creating an incentive for oil companies to continue to do business, but do it with the help and the support of the solar and energy storage industry?
Absolutely. California, the United States, we have some of the best and brightest engineers, scientists, doctors, world leaders. We should be able to come together and try to solve this together. I mean, it's one thing about the COVID-19, it's forced us to have a little bit of alone time and a little bit of thinking time for some individuals. Maybe this will give us a time to come together and work together as a community, like solar. Why aren't we using more solar? Why is solar so expensive? Or is it expensive?
Yeah, actually, solar used to be very expensive, and we have a lot of oil and gas people talking with us now about energy storage and managing demand and keeping the pumps always on. And we found that in some cases you have paybacks as little as 1 year on some of these on these battery systems. So really appreciate the efforts by the state of California and the utility companies to create a more resilient grid where farmers and oil companies and people that are doing business and living at home have the opportunity to always have the lights on, especially if there's a fire or a catastrophe. So what we're seeing is that the state's efforts are working very well, and there are a lot of incentives and a lot of options for homeowners and businesses, particularly, to take advantage of some of those incentives in a way that will help save money, but also keep the power always on. And so we encourage businesses to call us. We encourage the oil industry and the gas industry to call us with regard to working together. We see really creative models on finance that involve tax equity investors with passive income, particularly oil and gas industries. So there are ways for you to get these projects funded with zero out of pocket, in addition to all of the incentives. So it's very exciting times. And besides the COVID-19 outbreak, we see great opportunity for the oil and gas industry to work with the solar industry in Kern County. We're the leaders of both, and we also lead in wind and ag and aerospace. So we're the leaders in a lot of ways. So we encourage the leaders of this community to call, to work with us, to join us. It's the Energy Independence Group, and we believe there's an energy independence revolution going on, and we believe oil and
How
gas
can we
is a
get
big
in
part.
contact with you?
So you can reach us at eigsolar.com. You can also always tune into our live show every day at 3 o'clock on Facebook. It's facebook.com/EIG Solar. You can call us at 661-868-9000. Kelly, I really appreciate you coming on, and I think we'll have a lot to talk about. You have a lot of knowledge and a lot of information to share. So I encourage you to join us on the show again, and I encourage your friends and others to tune in and turn on the revolution. It's here. Join us at the Energy Independence Group. Thank you for coming
Thank you
on,
so
Kelly. And
much.
then, one thing I want to add, though, do you have any uplifting thoughts? I know that you're a very positive lady and that you have some good experiences in life. And do you have any advice or any jokes or anything you could share to uplift our spirits in these times?
Um, my advice is to make the best of it. Having lost my spouse, that to me was very catastrophic. Being sick, losing a job, not being able to go to the store when you want, having roots, having long fingernails that need gel, not so much a necessity. We're going to get through it. I mean, just have faith, pray, think happy thoughts. Use this time to to reach out to somebody, make 5 phone calls a day to people that you haven't spoke with, check on them, see how they're feeling, post happy thoughts, turn off the news.
Absolutely. I encourage people to turn off the news and to tune in to the Energy Independence Group show every day at 3 o'clock. And we will be live and we'll be sharing these experiences. We'll do this together as a community. We encourage you to stay safe and to keep your spirits up. Thank you, Kelly, for your thoughts and for your perspective and your time. I know you're a busy person, and I appreciate you taking